Welcome trainers to day 2 of Level Up CSP's FY26Q1 Level Up Train the Trainer. This broadcast is being recorded on behalf of Microsoft and will be available for on-demand replay after today's live event. This event is intended to be interactive, so please submit your questions and comments via the Q&A tab. We'll do our best to answer all of your questions, but due to time constraints, may not be able to answer all of them during the live event. We also invite you to use the reactions button via the upper tab throughout today's webinar. Show your support and enthusiasm with a thumbs up or a heart. Your engagement helps create a more dynamic experience. To enable closed captioning, click the Captions button in the upper right corner and select your preferred language. Throughout today's event, if you experience any technical difficulties, please refresh your browser or exit and rejoin. If this does not resolve the issue, please send a message. We're here happy to assist. And now I'd like to hand things off to today's first presenter, Ruben. Over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. On behalf of the entire Level Up CSP team, thank you for joining day 2 of our AI Business Solutions Sales and Technical Train the Trainer session. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues Gisela Laya, who is a Senior Product Marketing Manager, AI Business Solutions, and we will introduce you to the updates to the sales content, and also joined today by my colleagues in the COE, Zahid Said and Estefani Alvarez. So yesterday, on day 1, we already went through day 1 of this Train the Trainer content, and pleased to remind everyone that day 1 is like a prerequisite for day 2. So the day 1 content, we had our CSP Level Up program overview and some learning partner resources, and followed by the sales training updates. So these 3 sections we will glance over quickly today to repeat them and to make sure the key messaging there is landed. And then followed will be a technical training, and on day 1 we had a technical training and content overview of Copilot and agents, and today on day 2 we have the actual content overview and walkthrough on governance and management done by Estefani. With that, let's get started and have a quick overview of the Level Up CSP program. The Level Up CSP program is there for you partners to help you acquire, upsell, and cross-sell with AI business solutions. So by delivering these trainings, we want to help the partners get ready to acquire more customers, upsell and cross-sell to their existing customers using our AI business solutions. And our Level Up trainings are built to grow sales and technical capabilities, so our partners are more ready to accelerate customer acquisition and these cross-sell activities. Our AI business solutions training comes in different flavors, a digital and an in-person training. The Train the Trainer today is focused on our in-person training, and we deliver an in-person training, or we have an asset package for in-person for Microsoft 365, which focuses on premium SKUs and upselling with Copilot. We also have a digital delivery or digital version for Business Central to accelerate customers' ERP modernization. How should you, let's say, teach our partners to get started with building AI business solution skills? First, they should be using the digital series or pre-recorded content to start build foundational skills. Once they've completed these trainings, they should try and join an in-person series training to get more in-depth and hands-on training using the technologies. And once they've completed the training, there is an opportunity to get certified, to acquire badges and show off the learning journey they went through on LinkedIn or with their colleagues and customers. If they want to earn a CSP Copilot technical badge, and you as an instructor, you should also try to attain that. You need to score 80% or higher on the knowledge checks, and you can find these on aka.ms/levelup technical assessment with the access code provided, and my colleagues can share these with you in the chat. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the CSP Digital series because we have a number of activities and categories there. For Business Central and Power Platform, we actually have quarterly sessions, and these are online boot camps for sales to help with go-to-market and sales preparation and training. Then if you look at Modern Work, we have the same online bootcamp sessions with the difference that we also have a technical track there. On top of that, for Modern Work, we have biannual M365 and Copilot Train the Trainer sessions, which are the sessions you are attending today. The monthly Copilot demo trainings and Windows 365 trainings. And then we also have some additional series cross-product go-to-market sessions around Lighthouse and overall program CSP news in Product Connect. For all the partners that are joining your sessions and are interested to get started with an online training, all the Copilot and Agents bootcamps that our team delivers are available on demand. We have a Copilot plus Agents sales bootcamp about 1.5 hours in duration, which is available and has been delivered early September. And then we also have our Agents Copilot and Agents technical bootcamps, which was 2 days, 3 hours each session, that is available as a recording on demand using the link below, aka.ms Level Up CSP Bootcamp. Some additional resources for CSP partners. This slide is in the deck that will be provided to you as part of today's training. So all the important links and references that you would need to share with partners are here, including the badges, the knowledge checks, and the in-person sales and technical training. Keep in mind that the in-person content that is currently being published, so you should receive, or if you go to the website, and I'll show you the link a little bit later and how that looks like. Keep in mind that you still would download the last year's content. We aim to refresh the content by October 1st. If you have a delivery earlier, we recommend you to get in touch with us, and so we can try to get you to latest and greatest content as soon as possible. And also, as soon as we have confirmed that the latest version is online, we plan to send all attendees of our Train the Trainer session a quick notification that the training content is being updated and ready and available. If you then go to the instructor page, or let's say the transform page, and you go to the instructor information as you see here, you see the green and the purple boxes. So the trainer materials are in the purple boxes on the right. This is the actual content that we are delivering today and over 2 days for you. On the left-hand side in the purple purple box, you will see the training content, in-person content, technical available in English, and the sales available in localized content. There are also some invitation examples, marketing materials for our level up content. As mentioned below on the slide, there is update expected by October 1st latest, and the link to get directly to this page is aka.ms Level Up CSP Partner Instructor tab. So before I hand it over to Gisela, just maybe checking in with my colleagues if there are any questions that we need to address. Said, Steph, anything you would like to address?
Sure, Ruben. Yeah. So one thing, I think we were getting questions from some of the folks, like if they have a training scheduled before October 1st, and if they need the the decks or contents, is there any way they can get it?
Yes, they can get in touch with us and we will send them that information. Later on in the session, we will have a direct email address that we can share where they can get in touch with us to get that content.
Yeah, excellent. And I also get some couple of emails, so I will be reaching out to them directly. But yeah, thanks, Ruben. That's the only question I got. Yeah.
Awesome. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Gisela to talk through the updates for the sales training.
Thank you, Ruben. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy and excited to be part of the Level Up CSP team this year. And even though the focus of today, as Ruben mentioned, is to go to the day 2 of the technical training, I'm going to steal 3 to 5 minutes of your time to give you a sneak peek of the content of our in-person sales training. Before we go straight into the agenda, I want to set the ground with what are our main training goals and objectives. So if you look at the left side of the slide, you will find those. The first one is it's super important that you all master the Copilot portfolio. This means to really understand the difference between Microsoft 365 Copilot, Copilot Chat, and agents, the way that you can monetize them and how they work together. Depending on the customer maturity, of course, one solution will be a better fit than the other one, but it's super important to understand that you can have the 3 of them at the same organization. So that's number 1. The second one is how to win with the Copilot portfolio. We have great slides on our training content to really do a compelling pitch about how our solution it's a better fit, or what's the main differences between, ChatGPT, Gemini. So that's the second one. The third one is, of course, we will always keep hammering the point of the importance of security and data protection. This has always been extremely important for SMB, corporate, and of course, enterprise customers, but now it's more important than ever because this is what it will get our customers AI ready. The fourth one is when you deliver this sales training, it's super important to spend time on the new programs and investments. We had very compelling programs and promotional offers for FY26. And we have those across Microsoft 365 Copilot, agents, and secure productivity. And you'll see that all of those investments are across the customer life cycle. So we have pre-sale investments, we have investments that are going to help you close the deal. So it's what we call at sale, and then post-sales. So to really understand how these programs works and how these promotions will help you unlock or accelerate growth, it's really important. So on the right side of the slide, we have an all-up view of our agenda. We have 5 sections. The 3 in the middle, of course, we have Copilot, agents, and secure productivity. I mean, all of the content, of course, is updated and new. I mean, we are getting new product features every other week, which is great and exciting. However, we need to make sure, we had a harder job now because we have to make sure that you get the latest and greatest before your training content. I will say the difference between this year and last year, of course, we still have demos. We're going to have demos for Copilot on the sales training. On the technical training is where we're going to have the agents hands-on lab, but we also have 2 great customers case studies. One for Copilot and another one for secure productivity. We made sure that the deck really goes step by step on how our trainers can deliver this. So I will say that's kind of something that I wanted to highlight. So let's go to the next slide, which is my last one. This one here, again, same agenda that you saw on the slide before, but now there's more specifics in terms of length and duration. You'll see there's a lot of content here. It's 6.5 hours. However, it's really important that our trainer gets in touch, of course, with our field lead to really understand the needs of the partners attending, right? Because you can pick and choose slides as you see fit. You don't necessarily have to go through all of it. I will say, for example, Copilot and agents, they're all a must. I would like to say on secure AI productivity, there's a big section that goes into how to sell M365 Business Premium, how to sell ME3, and how to sell ME5. So I think on those ones is where you really have to, go through and pick and choose depending on conversations you have with our field counterparts in each of the countries. I want, before I hand this back to my colleagues, I want to reiterate a point that Ruben made on the beginning. I think this year it's more important than ever that every time that you go and deliver a training, go to our landing page, the instructor tab, and make sure you download the deck that it's there. Don't assume that if you did a training 2 weeks ago and you downloaded the deck, it's going to be the exact same deck. We're going to try to make this as easier as possible to you to highlight, what are the slides that are new with either a yellow start or a, white, yellow box. But super important that you go through this, because what we want to avoid is you being on your training in front of your audience and be surprised on like, oh, I didn't know this was new. So that I will say it will be my one of my main call to actions and advice. Well, I will be here keeping an eye on the chat, but I'm gonna give back the floor to my colleagues. Thank you for the time.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Gisela. And if there's any lingering questions on the sales content, feel free to add those questions in the chat. As Gisela mentioned, she'll be here answering those questions. So feel free to utilize all the experts that you have in the call today to be able to get all your questions answered. I'm sure a lot of the questions you have are a lot of questions other people are thinking as well. So let's pivot now to the technical training overview. And as I mentioned before, I want to make this as interactive as possible. So any questions, put in the chat. Ruben, Sahid, Gisela are all here to keep an eye on it. If I, for some reason, can't see it, they'll let me know. So we'll be able to answer the questions live. So a lot of the material that we're going to be reviewing now might be a little bit of a repetition from those who attended the first day. We received a lot of questions here, so I want to be able to cover at least a quick overview of the content requesting labs, what you see as a trainer within the labs, how to manage the labs as well. So I'll go through it quickly to be able to help answer the questions that we got asked, and as well, if there's any resurfacing questions, you can ask them here as well, since we're all here in the call. And as a reminder, if you did not attend the first day, we recommend that you watch the recording on demand so that you'll be able to become a trainer and get all the content ready for you to present. So today is not going to be a full overview from day one. The way that we want to frame today is that we're going to be not just learning about security features, but also knowing how to deliver them effectively in the classroom or partner setting as well. So think of this section as your orientation, what's included, what's new, and how to use the materials with confidence. And the next few slides are going to introduce the technical package, the bundle of the slides, labs, and resources that you'll be working with. We'll cover what's new in this release, what the objectives are, and how the agenda flows. The ideas here is to give you everything you need to plan, prepare, and deliver starting from scratch. And we made some important updates since the last in-person training. The intro has been refreshed to highlight the importance of AI for CSP partners, comparing Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft 365 Copilot. We also have the agents section that has been expanded. There's more focus on multi-agent architecture and third-party integration. And then for securing Copilot and AI, it's now a core theme. So we're covering both securing Copilot and AI agents. So that's the number one takeaway for today's Train the Trainer training. And then we have the labs that have been updated fully. So they're brand new labs and split across security and agents, giving attendees a chance to practice both. And finally, there's an add-on module like half-day deep dives into security or agents, and that gives trainers more flexibility in how they want to deliver this content. And overall, the program is designed to be modular and flexible and impactful so that you can adapt it to your audience while keeping a strong core. And again, these are the 5 key objectives. I know we saw this on day 1. Ruben kind of covered them already. But first is to help partners differentiate the value of Microsoft Copilot and M365 Copilot. Second, we have optimized security controls, building on foundations of secure productivity that scales. I know that's a lot of feedback that we get from a lot of partners is, yes, they want to join the AI journey and adapt all of these tools, but there's still some questions when it comes to trust, and that's where security comes into play. And then third, we teach them how to pitch the value of Copilot agents backed by compelling demos. And then fourth, how to extend and customize Copilot using Copilot Studio, Copilot Studio Lite, a lot of new examples as well. I know a lot of you shared some good examples on other potential agents that we could be building. So if you have any feedback, put that in the chat. We tend to listen to a lot of the feedback you, our partners, bring to us and try to implement it in future trainings and future labs as well as we continue updating them. And then finally, empower them to create their own Copilot agents. So these objectives cover both the technical skills and the storytelling skills needed to sell and implement Copilot securely. And then let's shift our gears into train the trainer objectives for today. This is about making sure that you're ready to teach this material. So what does this mean? Planning and delivering the full one-day training with optional add-on modules, learning how to deliver the instructor-led labs and use the lab platform effectively, and then understanding the assets. So you'll have slides, demos, and guides and how to use them. So a lot of resources, and knowing how to request labs and assets when you're ready to run a session. And just a reminder, this isn't about product deep dives. It's about how to teach the training and get your audience engaged and confident. If you're looking to see the deep dive trainings of us presenting the material, we do have some on-demand recordings already available. We did them about a few weeks back. So you'll have access to those, or you can sign up for future events that we'll be presenting as well as labs. So you can see it, get a chance to see how we're presenting it firsthand. And then this agenda is the one that you'll be delivering the training. On day 1, Ruben walked through all the agent-focused content, the introduction to agents, building them in Agent Builder and Copilot Studio, and then expanding into advanced multi-agent scenarios. So that's the first half of the training experience. Now on day 2, we're taking over the second half of the agenda, which shifts into the security portion. So this is part of this is just as critical in the AI journey because partners need to know not just how to build and use agents, but how to secure and govern them responsibly. And it covers both Copilot or M365 Copilot and Copilot Studio agents as well. So today we'll focus on labs, tools, guidance that ensure Copilot and agents can be deployed in environments that are safe, compliant, and also customer ready. And here's the optional day 2 agenda. You'll notice in the morning, it's very agent heavy with Ruben covered the advanced Copilot Studio features, agent conception and updates. So the focus for today will be on the second half of the day, which shifts into security. And again, this is just as important as everything we learned on agents because without a secure foundation, customers can't responsibly deploy or scale Copilot and Copilot Chat, and as well as agents. So think of today as closing the loop. Building great agents is powerful, but governing and securing them is what makes them enterprise ready and gains the trust of the customers. And this slide shows you the full Security Lab day agenda. So if you're doing not just the in-person training, let's say you want to do just a full lab day, this is where you're able to utilize this agenda. The labs are broken into parts that walk you step by step through preparing the environment with secure foundations, applying access controls with conditional access, MFA, and device compliance, moving on to protecting data with sensitivity labels and DLP, and governing what agents know, say, and do, and then securing Copilot Studio environments with publishing rules, auditing, and monitoring. So this is not just theory, it's a fully hands-on. And we'll get a chance later today too to be able to sign in. I know we were able to do that on Tuesday as well for those of you who attended the first Train the Trainer you'll have access to the same code. We'll walk through the security labs if you haven't done so already. So we'll do an overview of that. So it'll be the same environment, same code that we used. So we'll walk through these labs. So the idea here is that by the end of this, and by the end of all the labs, you'll know not only how to talk about security, but also how to show it in action. And then to deliver this training, there are a few requirements. First, licensing. You'll need M365 Business Premium and Copilot Studio user license. For instructors who want to show M365 Copilot itself, the license needs to be brought in separately. Second, we have roles. So global administrator access is included in the lab, so you can set up policies and manage the environments. And then regular user accounts are also included for end user demos. So the labs are designed to give you what you need without friction, but it's important to understand the role context, especially for those delivering in the field. And I want to pause a little bit. Is there any questions? I know we had a few questions on labs. Perfect. No questions.
No questions so far. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Now let's walk through the technical package. This is the bundle of assets, slides, and labs that you'll be using. The purpose here is to make sure that you know exactly where to find the content, how it's structured, and how it all fits together. So by the end of this walkthrough, you'll know which decks to use, how the labs connect, and where the security modules live. And here's the file structure of the training decks. For day one, you'll see the introduction and the Copilot agent decks. For day two, you'll see the security focus decks, and you can see it's in the bottom. So the decks are going to be the 0.3 secure and govern and 0.3 advanced and oversharing protection. So this structure keeps things simple. Day one is going to have the introduction. First half of the day is going to be Copilot Agents Part 1 with the labs included into it. And then the second half of the day is going to be the how to secure everything that you just build, from the agents to Copilot, and what security features are important to implement. So as trainers, you'll know exactly where to go depending on which part of the program you're delivering. And we'll walk through a bit of the security content. So you'll be able to see all of the security modules, how we set it up, why we set it up this way as well, to kind of give you an understanding of how to frame the conversation. So we'll cover what's in each one, how they're structured, why they're designed this way. Each module is going to build on the last, starting with identity and access, then moving into data protection, oversharing controls, and governance. So really the idea here is to help customers build progressive security layers rather than treating security as a one-time setup. And here's a closer look to the security specific decks. You'll see part 1, as mentioned before, so 0.3, day 1, 0.3 secure and govern. This is going to be the foundational security steps. And then on day 2, it's going to be the advanced oversharing protection and governance. So day 2 is going to focus more on the data security of these pieces. And we'll start with the first one, so showing the foundations first, so you get an understanding of how the content is structured. So really our job here is to show that security and innovation go hand in hand, and that the right governance actually accelerates adoption because it builds trust. And I see a question in the chat that just came through. Posting the links for the packages. So again, Ruben mentioned this at the beginning, and I know we had a few conversations too on Tuesday about the content. So the content is not going to be ready for download until October 1st. I'll do my best to show you what's included in the content so you get an understanding of what's included, how it's set up, and so on. But today you won't be able to download the content that we have prepared. It takes some time for us to download, but if you are doing any training before October 1st, let us know, reach out to us, and we'll be able to send you that content early. I know there was a few requests that came through already on Tuesday, and we're sending that content soon. So again, it's not ready for download today. It's going to be within our partner portal page where you can download the content on October 1st. All right, so let's start with the value of security because that's what customers care about. So Copilot and agents don't just help individuals be more productive, they scale up to improve team workflows and even transform entire business processes. But here's the key point we need to land when we teach this. Security is what enables that value to scale. Without security, adoption stalls. So with security, organizations are going to feel more confident rolling out Copilot out broadly and reaping the full business benefits. And here's why this content matters. Customers are dealing with three major challenges right now. First, there's a productivity gap. There's more than 80% of global workforce that says they don't have enough time or energy to get their work done. Second, security risks are growing. More than 70% of knowledge workers are bringing their own AI tools to work, and that creates some shadow IT and unmanaged risks. And then third, tool sprawl. So organizations with 16 or more security tools are actually experience more than 3 times more incidents than those with fewer tools as well. It's a lot to manage. It's a lot of things to look at. So some things might slip through the cracks. And this is the pain that our security modules are designed to address. So it's the story trainers should help partners connect with. And Copilot adoption is exciting, but without security, these challenges only get worse. And here's where the opportunity and risk come together. More than 80% of leaders expect to use agents to increase workforce capacity. Over 40% are already automating processes with them. And that's the opportunity for us. But on the other hand, data security incidents from AI applications have doubled since 2024. And more than 70% of leaders say that privacy and security are the #1 challenge for AI adoption. So this is the balance we need to highlight. Customers can't separate productivity from security. They have to move together. And this slide shows the structure of how we teach security in the level up training. We start with the foundations, access controls, data protection, and auditing. These are the baseline guardrails. We call this secure it before you scale it. And then we move into advanced controls, oversharing prevention, advanced DLP, and governance. And these are what let customers monitor, adapt, and govern as usage grows. So this flow is intentional. As trainers, you'll want to teach this as a journey. Start with the basics, and then we layer on more advanced protection as adoption matures. And then let's take a closer look at the foundations. We first have access control, so only trusted users on devices should be able to use Copilot. We have data protection, auditing. So again, these are non-negotiables before turning Copilot on at scale. If we highlight on these foundations, we also have the advanced controls. So the oversharing prevention ensures that Copilot doesn't expose data to the wrong person at the right time. We have data loss prevention, and we have governing AI. So again, the first one is going to be on the foundation, secure it before you scale. And the second is going to be on monitoring, adapting, and governing, and more on a focus on data security. And if we highlight the foundations to give you an understanding of what's covered in each tier, with identity and access control, the next step is to lock down the data that Copilot and agents can reach. So this means classifying, protecting sensitive information before Copilot has access. So we have a lot of different policies to put in place within access control. So MFA for conditional access, role-based access, device compliance as well are all pieces that we cover. We go in much more detail around other additional policies for access control, but these are just an overview of what we covered in in each tier. And then if we move into data protection, so again, we're covering things like sensitivity labels, basic DLP, protection data, default labeling in Office apps, and then we have AI usage and auditing. So this is what really shows what's happening in the environment. Some of the things to emphasize here is using Cloud App Discovery to surface AI tools in use across the tenant, utilizing Intune Discovery to flag unauthorized apps on devices, Shadow AI detection to identify unmanaged usage and bring it under control. So really the message here for this tier is that auditing isn't optional. It's really what gives the organizations confidence that their AI usage is safe, compliant, and accountable as well. And if we bring it all together, again, we have access control. It's all about who can use AI from what devices. Data protection is about what Copilot can see and surface. And then AI usage auditing is all about proof and detection. So this is really the baseline for every rollout. Secure it before you scale it. So we start with this first foundational steps. And then after each section, since we cover a lot of different topics within the training, we created a checklist, and this is going to give you practical step-by-step actions to secure identities and access. So you can see here the action that they need to do in order to enroll identity and secure access for their Copilot and for Copilot for agents as well. You can see the tool that it belongs to, Power Platform, M365, Entra, Copilot Studio, and then the licensing that you can find these features in as well. And then we have the same for the second tier. So you can see we have some actions on applying sensitivity labels, DLP to block external sharing, connector classification as well, and then the tools that it belongs to and the licensing as well. And then we have the AI, auditing AI. So you can track Copilot and agent prompts, you can use Lighthouse, you can view AI usage reports as well to be able to maintain the security and keep an eye on things. And now that we covered the foundational controls, that's where we move into the advanced side of security. So this is where we'll focus on protecting against oversharing and ensuring that the right AI governance is in place. And just to connect it back, remember day 2 agenda, we saw it earlier. This is the advanced security block that's part of that training. So we started with the foundations on day 1, and now we're moving into the advanced pieces that complete the security story for Copilot and agents on day 2. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. I don't see any questions so far. Again, any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If there's anything you want to see or deep dive, or you have any questions on the content that we are presenting on the foundational side of security or the advanced security, let us know. Happy to deep dive. This time is yours to ask those questions. All right, so moving into the advanced security. So some things to highlight, the security landscape around AI is shifting quickly. We see growing attack sophistication, an increasingly dynamic workforce, and an evolving regulatory environment. And at the same time, organizations are under pressure to unlock the new AI-driven scenarios. So that creates the core questions for customers. How do we secure and govern and operate responsibly in the era of generative AI? So this is the framing we want trainers to use with their audience. It sets up why advanced security is critical. It's not just about blocking threats, it's about enabling AI safely. And then customers consistently raise these 3 top concerns, and not just customers, partners as well, when we tend to talk to them around what are the conversations you're having with customers, what are they saying when it comes to adopting AI. We tend to hear these quite often. So oversharing and leaks, 80% of leaders cite leakage and sensitive data as their #1 issue. Risky AI use, 41% of leaders want better ways to identify risky users or prompts. And then governance and visibility. So 84% want confidence in managing and discovering data inputs into AI apps. So these numbers show us that oversharing and governance aren't niche. They're at the center of every AI adoption conversation. And when we teach advanced security, we always tie it back to zero trust principles. I know we hear that very often, zero trust, zero trust. So we tied it back, our training, with zero trust as well. So this means verifying explicitly. So verify every identity, assess all AI apps, and make sure both intended and unintended activities are detectable. The use of least privilege, so AI should only access what's needed for authorized users, and agents should operate with the lowest privilege possible, and then assume breach. So every prompt could be malicious, every response could leak data, and every AI component could have vulnerabilities. So again, zero trust isn't new, but extending it to Copilot and agents is what helps customers govern AI securely. And this slide summarizes the 3 pillars of advanced controls. So we address oversharing, so we gain visibility, remediate permissions, and prevent Copilot or agents from processing sensitive files. We protect against data loss, so we get alerts, protect files, and apply dynamic security policies. And we govern AI use, so we inspect interaction logs, investigate compliance and ethics, and enforce lifecycle and legal hold policies. So these 3 pillars are how we frame advanced protection, like oversharing, data loss, and governance. And here again is the journey visualized. So on the left, we started with foundations, again, covering access control, data protection, usage tracking, and those are required to enable Copilot security. And on the right, we move to the advanced controls, so oversharing prevention, data loss protection, and governance. So as trainers, to make this progression clear, we start secure and then monitor and adapt as AI usage scales. So we start secure, we apply these policies, foundational policies in place. In order to scale it, that's going to fall into the advanced controls. So scaling, protecting data, and so on. And this slide brings all 3 advanced controls together. Again, this framework was created because time and time again, what we hear from partners and customers is that the biggest concern in their AI journey is how their data is managed, specifically how it's accessed, shared, and protected. So together, these are going to ensure that you can monitor, adapt, and govern responsibly, and then addressing the number 1 concern, protecting data while enabling AI automation. And if we dive deeper into each of these tiers, starting in oversharing, the risk is simple here, AI exposing the wrong data to the wrong person at the wrong time. So we counter this with DSPM for AI, oversharing assessment in Purview, and detailed controls from oversharing blueprint. And the message here that we want to pass along or highlight is that Copilot and agents should never process overshared or unrestricted data. That's the guardrail we want trainers to emphasize, that by applying this, we're able to protect that. And if we move it to data loss, we want to prevent leaks by applying sensitivity labels and encryptions. Things like advanced DLP and DSPM rules are going to be tailored for Copilot, and insider risk policies to catch lifecycle events like employee departures. So this is where proactive data protection meets the adaptive controls. And finally, we have the governance. So governance is going to ensure long-term control over how AI is used. That means setting connector and agent publishing policies, enforcing retention, deletion, and legal holds, and monitoring communication for compliance. Again, the point to land is this: foundations secure the start, but governance sustains trust over time. And here we bring it all together. Again, oversharing, stopping AI from exposing data to the wrong person at the wrong time, data loss, preventing sensitive data from leaking through Copilot or custom agents, and then governing AI, ensuring long-term compliance and control over how AI is used. Again, this is the big picture. So together, these 3 pillars let you monitor, adapt, and govern how AI is used at scale. So really the key message to land with customers and partners here is that securing Copilot and agents isn't just about setting things up once. Any questions so far? No questions? Perfect.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't see any questions. Yeah, I think all are answered. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Again, this is all about visibility, adapting controls as usage grows, and also enforcing governance to ensure that the AI adoption remains safe and compliant. And I'll be able to show you a little bit more of how that content is built in a little bit as well. And similar to the day one content, we have these checklists that kind of covers everything and builds the steps for you in order to apply all of these security policies in place. So we start with the oversharing blueprint in the COE kit. We use DSPM and Purview to detect overshared files, sites, teams, and content. We also run oversharing assessment to spot high-risk sharing patterns, apply sensitivity labels to restrict copying, sharing, and downloading. And finally, we encrypt highly confidential files to prevent Copilot from ever surfacing that data. So again, the important part to highlight here is that it isn't theoretical. You can show customers how to walk through each step and prove value quickly within the labs, as well as the content that we have created. And then we have data loss management. Here's all about protecting against data exfiltration and risky queries. Some of the steps include DLP policies for Copilot and agents, aligned to sensitivity labels. We combine DSPM with DLP to detect oversharing and apply context-aware protection. We enable adaptive protection, so risky queries or behaviors are automatically restricted. And then we configure insider risk policies for lifecycle events like departing employees or new employees joining as well. And then this is going to combine into the prevention and response. So we're not just blocking, we're also adapting protection based on the user behavior. And then we have the governance checklist. This is where you can connect AI usage to regulations, policies, and compliance frameworks. We map requirements like GDPR, ISO, or the EU AI Act into actionable controls with the Compliance Manager. You can use e-discovery and audit to log and retain AI interactions, model details and metrics for audit readiness. You can detect and investigate risky AI communications, like things with collusion or inappropriate sharing. You can block harmful or non-compliant outputs in real time with Azure AI Content Safety. And you can use Entra Agent ID to assign unique identities and manage lifecycle for every agent as well. So again, this ensures AI isn't just secure, it's going to be governed, compliant, and sustainable as well. And I'll quickly walk through the content so you can see what it looks like once you have access to these downloadable decks. So let me pull that up. And right after I show you this, I'll give everyone a quick 5-minute break since I know we're hitting the top of the hour, and then we'll continue on the labs portion. But if there's any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, keeping an eye. Ruben and Sahid are keeping an eye on that as well. Perfect. So this is the deck for the first part of the Secure and Govern Copilot and Agents section. So again, we covered the agendas here. You can see it's the half part of the day. We start with an overview of all of the security policies and security topics that are going to be covered in the labs the first 50 minutes. So we walk through, explain those concepts, and then they get hands-on in the labs. So they have an understanding of what these things that they're applying hands-on look like and why it's important as well. And then after that, we give them a quick 10-minute break and go into the second hands-on lab. I'll show you a little bit more how the labs are set up, but if for some reason the students are a little bit quicker in completing the labs, there are some extra exercises that they can complete in each lab. So we have 2 security labs, lab 1 and lab 2. In each security lab, there's 3 exercises, and those 3 exercises contains even more little tasks that they have to complete. So if your class is going a little bit quicker, they completed maybe the first lab, or they're starting out the second lab, if time permits, they're able to also complete the third lab. So they're not just waiting around for others to finish. I know there's different levels when it comes to completing labs. So we give you an option to keep everyone, focused and then completing the task with an option to do the optional labs if they move a little bit quicker than the rest. You never know the level of security experts that are in the lab. Some of them might be new. Some of them are have been in the field for a long time. So they might know how to create these policies like MFA and so on. So we'll have extra exercises for them to complete. But this is the way that we've set it up. So we have the first lab and then the second lab, and then we review the content at the beginning. This first section, which is the intro, we talked about already and covered. It's the foundations and the explanation of why we framed it this way, why it's important. And then we break it into each section. So you can see we broke it into 3 tiers. We'll go deep dive into the first tier, access control. We break down different policies that you have to put in place and give an explanation of why it's important, as well as an example. So once they're building it in the lab, they understand and have seen a visual of what it looks like and what they're going to be doing. And we also added an explanation on the top of what this applies to. So some policies might only apply to agents. Some policies might only apply to M365 Copilot agents. So you'll be able to see here which one it applies to. As you can see in this example, for managing access centrally across all users, it applies to both of these AI tools. And then it also gives an explanation of where you can find this policy, whether it's Entra ID, Purview, Intune, the Defender portal. You'll be able to get an explanation of what it applies to. So not just the tool that it applies to, but also the security product as well. It's similar to the rest. At the end, we break down all 3 tiers, and we finish with the checklist that I've shown before as well. So they'll have this as a take-home assignment. So if they want to apply this to production based on everything that they covered, based on what's in the lab, they have this easy checklist that they can go through and see which policies they have to put in place or they haven't put in place, or have put in place already, and kind of see which ones they want to roll out themselves as well. And from this, we go into the labs. So we'll give them an explanation. I'll be sure to show you of what the lab explanation is in the next section, but this is just to give you an overview of how this deck is structured. And first covering the topics, security topics, and then going into the labs and then Q&A as well. Similar to day 2, same framework. We talked already a little bit of the agenda, what it looks like. Again, starting with an explanation of what they're going to be covering, the topics that we'll be touching and explaining, and then go into the hands-on lab. So they'll be doing 2 labs here. But the third one is optional for those who might be a little bit quicker when applying these labs. And then same structure, we covered the intro to the advanced production, why it's important, why we framed it this way, why we started with foundational and then went into advanced and more on the data protection side, and then broke each into those tiers and explanation of oversharing, the policies they have to put in place. And it's the same framework as before as well. And if we go in the bottom, that's where we dive into the labs as well. And we'll be focusing on lab 2. And one thing to show is the checklist again. So again, once we cover all 3 tiers of the advanced training, they'll have the checklist that they're able to see and utilize and apply based on what they already have in place in their production environment. And here's the lab section that we'll be going into for day 2 as well. Any questions so far on the content?
No questions so far. Let me look again. Oh, I think there are a couple. Let me just see. Yeah, I just refreshed it.
Is there a way for us as MCTs to deliver foundational sessions using live stream methods like MTTs do? I mean, like time teams live sessions, allowing thousands of students in a massive event or masterclass where multiple chat moderators can attend, just like we are doing.
Good question. Yeah, so the way that we've framed the training, the thing is, if there's any issues within the lab and there's more than, I want to say, 100 attendees, it's hard to manage the class based on the class sizes. If a user gets stuck, then you might fall a little bit behind trying to kind of navigate them into, catching up with the rest of the class. So the way that we framed it is in these short sessions so that there's a limited amount of attendees there so they can get the support from the trainer giving this training. So good question. It's something we have been thinking about scaling the training, but for now we've scaled these labs as something smaller so that everyone can understand what's happening and get the support from the trainer as well. Anything you want to add, Ruben and Sahid, on the agent training?
I think there are two aspects of this question, right? What you said once, right? Like what we realized, if we want to do labs, it's very difficult to manage. If somebody's like on a different speed, it's difficult. The second may be Fabian is asking, like, are there any tools available from Microsoft side that they can leverage, to deliver the session thousands of students in a massive event, right? If they can do like that. So that's, to be honest, whatever is available, like you can see on the Teams, but I don't know, based on the licensing model, what you want to use. But this is something maybe an MCT, I don't know, I have to check back to the community what they are offering to MCTs. Is it something, the benefit they're giving or no? I have no idea on this one, but that's a good question. I can check, from the MCT community, or Ruben, if you know about that.
No idea.
Yeah, well,
Fabian also added a second question. Steph, did you want to add, or do I switch to the second one?
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that first question, like Sahid mentioned. But yes, go into the second question now.
Second question is, I think, also a two-part question. I think security has to be part of the adoption journey, like purview tags and permissions need to be addressed to avoid the AI pull or discover sensitive information. Shouldn't it be automatically detected using algorithms or prompts?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, security is an adoption journey. That's how we frame the content this year, starting with the foundational policies that you put in place for that specific tenant, and then moving on to the advanced security policies like data protection, like you mentioned, sensitivity tags, permissions, and all that. As far as the automatic detection, we do have licensing that creates policies in place to automate some of the risky behaviors. For example, any risky behaviors coming from, let's say, location. If they see any risky prompts for a user who's signing in from a specific location, or they're sending specific prompts a lot, or there's maybe a risky user where we've detected some risky usage on accessing their account. So all of those risky use cases, there is some policies that you can put in place to automate it, but a lot of it falls in E5, ME5 licensing to do the automation for those pieces. So yes, we do have tools in place that does that automatically, but you have to use the ME5 licensing to do that. And for this training, we're only focusing on business premium, and we do explain a little bit of the ME3 and ME5 policies that you can put it in place to automate certain security features, but we don't build them within the labs. Again, we only use the business premium licensing. Anything you'd like to add, Ruben or Sahid?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, is automatic labeling of documents also part of that? And secondly, if you have business premium, there is a security add-on you can add. Does any of those automatic labeling or automatic detections around AI, is that included in that add-on?
Correct. So automatic labeling is part of the ME5 licensing that they're able to do. Again, we mentioned it in the training, but we do not build in the labs or apply these because the licensing we have for those tenants are in business premium. But good call out. If that's something that you'd like to see for future labs, maybe you're having conversations with customers who want to move to ME3 and ME5. Those are some features that we could add if that's something that you as partners see beneficial showing or are having those conversations with customers already. Anything else? Any other questions?
No, that was the last question.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I'll give everyone a 5-minute break before we jump into the lab portion. So right now it's 11 a.m. CST my time. We'll return at 11:05 CST. So everyone feel free to stretch, get a drink, get some movement. I know we've been sitting for quite some time. And let me go into the break slide. Or Ruben, do you have the slide handy for the break? It looks like I didn't. I lost my.
Not handy. It's in the
place.
day one deck.
Okay, let me pull that up.
Are you using the online version of the deck or an offline copy?
An offline copy.
Okay, so if I copy it over in this deck, then you will not get it.
I can pull that up too. Yeah, feel free to add it to this deck and then we can go.
Yeah, but if it's an offline copy, you will not get the update, right?
I just opened the.
Okay, give me a second. I'm looking for it.
I think we are still okay, Stephen. If you want to take a break, just take a break. We have only like 3, 5, 4 minutes, right? So
yeah,
it should
just
be fine. Even if we don't have a
We'll be
slide, I
back.
think still we are good. Yeah. If you
I
want to take
already
a break,
removed
take
the
a
break
break.
slide from day one. So
Yeah.
No problem. All
No
right, we'll be
worries.
back in 11:05.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
right, welcome back, everyone. It's 11:05 a.m. CST. I hope everyone had a good break. We weren't able to find the break slide, but I hope everyone still took that break, was able to stretch, get off their chair a little bit. And now we're going to be focusing more on the sales, the lab content. So again, moving away from the slides and more to the hands-on practice. We'll have a chance today to walk through the labs, what it looks like. You'll have the access code that we gave you on Tuesday to be able to sign in. If you lost that access code, no worries. We'll be able to share it in the chat so you can jump into the labs already if you haven't had a chance to look at the security ones. I know on day one, we only focus on the agent pieces. So today we're going to walk through the 2 labs that we have for security. So again, this is where the training comes alive for a lot of these trainees, because you're not only learning the concepts, you're also walking through how to configure them in a live environment as well. And here's a view of the full set of labs that we prepared for FY26. I know we shared this on Tuesday. For security, you'll see 2 dedicated labs, one focused on securing M365 Copilot and Copilot Chat and agents as well, Copilot student agents, and another one on securing custom agents. And then we see the 3 labs for agent building and design, which Ruben walked through earlier this week. For us today, again, we're only going to be focusing on the security labs, helping you walk through a way with the ability to not just explain why these features matter, but to actually configure and demo them hands-on. And this slide zooms in specifically on the security hands-on labs. Each block here is designed as a 50-minute guided exercise covering identity protection, access controls, DLP, oversharing, data classification, sensitivity labels, and insider risk with lifecycle governance. So the key takeaway is that these labs map directly to what we've covered in the agenda for day 1 and day 2 security, so the foundations and the advanced. And you also have extended access for 2 weeks to access the labs from the day 1 of your training until 2 weeks. So if for some reason the trainees don't finish the labs, they'll have access or time to complete the rest as well. Or if you have one day that's only focused on agents or one day only focused on security, you can also give them the option to complete the other training as well. So you can explore and practice beyond the training window as well as topics. And let's jump into the first security lab. This one is all about identity and data protection. So making sure only the right people and the right devices can access Copilot and that data is properly classified and protected. So think of this as your foundation. If access and classifications aren't in place, then everything else downstream is at risk. So we'll be walking through first an explanation of what these labs are, what they contain, and then we'll be able to go hands-on with the Scalable platform and walk through the labs there. So let's start first with the lab 1. So this one has 2 big outcomes. The first one is that you'll get hands-on with identity protection and access controls. So applying things like conditional access, MFA, and baseline policies. Second, you'll work with sensitivity labels and classifications, which are critical for safeguarding data inside M365 apps. And then by the end, you'll know how to configure policies and labels that create a solid foundation for Copilot and agent readiness. And here we'll configure conditional access, enforce MFA, and apply baseline security templates. There's also a bonus step on reviewing sign-in logs, which is a great way to show real-world anomalies. And then the tool we'll use here is Entra ID, conditional access, MFA, and baseline templates. And the same things partners will need to set up in their customer environments. So these are all steps that you can implement in this virtual environment and then go into their own production environment to apply. And next, this is a explanation of our second lab. So this is going to cover things like data loss, insider risk, and lifecycle governance. So this lab builds on what we've covered on the advanced controls section earlier. So you'll actually put those DLP, oversharing, and governance policies into action. And this lab is designed to help you detect, block, and govern sensitive data actively. You'll implement things like DLP policies and oversharing controls. You'll set up insider risk management and apply lifecycle policies to support long-term secure Copilot adoption. And by the end, you'll walk away with practical skills to configure alerts, apply governance, and see how these controls fit into the overall security journey. And this step brings us deeper into Purview. So you'll create and publish sensitivity labels, apply them in apps in Word, Excel, Teams, and configure auto-labeling rules for sensitive information. So this ensures protection isn't manual or optional. It becomes baked into the environment. And let me jump into... Well, let's first cover the register class, because I know there was a lot of questions on Tuesday as trainers, what it looks like, how to register for the class, and so on. So we'll do a quick overview. If there's any questions on requesting the labs, what's needed, feel free to ask questions in the chat and we'll be able to answer those. So I'll do a quick overview since I know this is something that was important on Tuesday. So as trainers, you'll also want to know how to request the labs for your own sessions. We made the process quite simple, so use the instructor request form to book the labs in advance, and be sure to plan for at least a 2-week lead time. So here are the logistics for the labs. So you'll be delivering them online so groups can complete them together. They need to be requested 2 weeks in advance, and we recommend capping at 30 labs per 30 users per 30 attendees per lab per trainer to keep things manageable. That's what we got that question, whether, expanding or scaling the labs to have about like 1,000 or so users. We recommend at least 30 attendees to be able to manage the class easier. The key point here is that as trainers, you now have access to the same labs that we're using today, so you can bring them into your own sessions with partners. And then after the class is registered, both students and instructors will receive an email confirmation. This includes the training key, which is critical on how attendees will gain access to the labs and course materials, similar to how we did on Tuesday. It also lists systems requirements and support contacts. So if participants have issues, they already know where to go for help. And as instructors, it's important to remind students to keep this email handy because they'll need that training key at the start of the class. So you'll be able to give them the key to sign into the labs. And if they have any issues, you're able to either go to the Skillable email to ask questions, or if there's any issues with the lab, you're able to do that there. But if there's any issues with the content, let's say something might need some updating, or there's some issue with how it's being created for some reason, maybe you can't auto type something and it's maybe something with the code, feel free to reach out to the Level Up team, which is us, to be able to make those updates into the content itself. But if there's any technical issues, that's where we recommend going with Skillable. I believe there's an email and a phone number that we can share with you to reach out to them for any issues within a live class. And then for managing the class, we saw a bit of this on Tuesday as well. I want to actually walk through the trainer's perspective and what you can see. There's a lot of data that you can see when it comes to managing the class. I won't walk through the slides. You have access to these slides from Tuesday as well as today, but I do want to be able to show you what that looks like live. So let me pull up the class. Perfect. So when you sign in to the Skillable platform as a trainer, you'll have access to this calendar. So if you have multiple trainings, you're able to see the trainings here and go into the class and manage the the users that are attending that class. If the class passed, you'll be able to see data from who actually signed in, who was able to complete the training, and so on. If we go into this training here as an example, you'll get access to the labs that we have for that specific class. You can see here the number of enrollments. So we have 150 as the cap and only 74 have been used. It looks like we also have information on the roster, the pre-class checklist, the sign-in sheet, as well as the attendance chart. I won't click here for security reasons. I don't want to share any information there on the users who attended this class, but you'll be able to see all of the users there, as well as managing the files and monitoring the labs. So you'll be able to use this to monitor the labs for anyone who's signing in, and if they run into any issues, you're able to keep a track there. And then to access the training key, this is where you go and get that specific training key for this specific class at that specific time. So let's move into the labs itself. But if there's any questions on requesting or any questions on the trainers and what they see in the labs, let us know. I don't see any questions right now, but if there is, feel free to put them in the chat. And this is the help link. So if you run into any technical issues in the lab while you're running it, feel free to send them an email or give them a call. We recommend actually calling them if this is a live event where you're running into issues to get faster support. But let's say maybe you got access to the lab and you see some issues with the VM, maybe something's not working out, you can send them an email and they'll be able to help support you through there as well. So again, if it's a live class, technical issues, call them. If it's something more within the content, how it's framed, maybe something needs updating, then reach out to us at Level Up. And then let's shift into accessing the labs. So this is what the attendees will see as you present it and how they will be able to access these labs as well. So I'll walk you through the steps. I know we did it on Tuesday already, but there were some questions, so I'll walk through them one by one again. So starting with the lab, there's some prerequisites that are needed. So we'll need a laptop, stable internet connection, and most importantly, the lab key that we will provide for the trainees to access the training. And you'll receive this via email when you submit the request form. If for some reason there's some internet connectivity issues, this is going to affect the scalable platform VM. So it might be that some things take a little bit longer to download or to surface as you're walking through the steps. It does happen, but again, it depends on the bandwidth and the Wi-Fi as well. What we recommend in those situations, it's either waiting a little bit, if for some reason that's not fixing it, saving the lab and then closing it and then opening it again. If for some reason that doesn't work, then we recommend actually closing the lab completely. They are going to lose their work. So there's some security steps that don't need to be built off of the last one. So it'll be okay if they just start over from the next lab in order to kind of work through the exercises. But that's some of the recommendations we tend to give, since we tend to hear a lot of that feedback that sometimes it's a little bit slow, the VM's not working or not responding. Sometimes it just depends on the internet connectivity, but we have solutions to try to solve that by either saving or closing the lab completely and then opening up a fresh one. And then this is where we get access through the labs. So similar to Tuesday, if you all go into this specific link, aka.mssmb lab, we'll also share it in the chat now so that you can see what the security labs look like. I'll go ahead and publish that into the chat now so you can see it. For those of you that haven't joined the first training on Tuesday, we all need to go to this link in order to get access to the lab. So I'll give everyone a few seconds to go ahead and join. Again, I just shared the link in the chat, so you can just click on that and it'll open it up. And this is the link to sign in and redeem the lab key. And when you go and click the link, you'll see the Skillable sign-in page. You click on sign in to get started. So again, if you're following through these steps, I'll give everyone a few seconds to access it. Maybe some of you have already seen the security labs from Tuesday. Again, we'll just do a quick overview of what's in there, but at your own time, you're able to complete these labs yourselves. And then from there, you'll choose how you want to sign in. If you're using a Microsoft account like Outlook, select that. If you're signing in with Enter ID, choose that option. And if you're given a Skillable account or want to create a Skillable account, you're able to sign in that way. What we recommend is first signing in through a Microsoft account. That's the quickest way to get access. Again, if you sign in one or the other, it's not going to take you to different pages. It's going to take you to the same page. It's all just about accessing the Skillable environment. If for some reason the Microsoft account or the Enter ID account does not work, there's been some issues that arise where maybe their password changes and they forgot, then we recommend either resetting the passcode, and if that does not work, then create a Skillable account. It only takes about a minute or two to create. And then you'll have access to the environment. And then once you're signed in, you'll need to redeem your training key. So click the Redeem Training Key option from the menu. And then I'll be able to share the key here. It'll be the same one we used on Tuesday to access the labs. You'll have a few days in order to see all of the agent labs as well as the security labs, and you can complete them at your own time. Again, once you request the lab for a training, you'll get access to the lab environment early, so you'll be able to walk through the labs before actually doing the training. But we wanted to give you all access first in this Train the Trainer so you can see what it looks like. And then you type in your training key that is shared with you in the chat. I posted the key here, so it's the 2C8. Feel free to just copy that from the Q&A or the chat that I just submitted in order to get access. And then after redeeming, you'll see your key displayed here along with the lab enrollment details. This is where you'll come back to access the labs later if you need. So again, this is all from the viewpoint of the trainee. The trainer page is going to look a little bit different, similar to the page that I shared with you. It's not going to look too different, but you'll just have more options in managing the class. And then if you're ready to start the lab, all you have to do is launch button. So from here, we recommend actually waiting to launch the labs since the labs are timed. So when walking through these steps with the trainee, we recommend the trainers to kind of tell them, hey, we're going to be starting Agent Lab 1 or we're going to be starting Security Lab 1. Please wait until everyone is there so we can launch it since the labs are timed. And you'll be able to guide them through that. And let me show you what that looks like from the trainer perspective. What you're all probably seeing is the trainee perspective, so you get to see that. So here is the trainee perspective. We're able to see all of these different features in order to manage the class. Like I mentioned before, we see the training key here as well, the instructor. So maybe if it's one or two instructors, you'll both be able to get access to the same key to manage the training. And then we first see the agent labs. So as Ruben mentioned before, on Tuesday, we have these 3 agent labs. He walked through each of them and what they contain. Today, I walked you through the security labs. So security 1 lab is going to be focused on the foundational steps in order to implement to secure the AI journey. And then security lab 2 is going to focus on the advanced security features as well. So let's go and launch lab 1 here. And I have mine ready. So I'll be walking you through what it looks like. For some of you, as you launch it, it might take a minute or two to have it fully launched, but I'm just going to do a quick overview of what's in there. You'll be able to see that in a little bit once it launches fully for you. But in order to understand how to sign into the virtual machine, how to sign into the M365 tenant and the security features, we laid out all of the instructions here on this menu. So you can see that we give them some tips as well. There's an automated typing option. So if there's something that they need to type out, they don't have to type it fully by hand. All they have to do is just click the automated typing image, and it'll type it for them. For example, in order to sign into this specific virtual machine, in the resources tab, we have the passwords. You can see the T here for the automatic typing. All we have to do is click in the box and then click the automatic typing, and it'll type it out for them. You do have to wait for it to fully load in order for it to work. I know we tend to get a lot of questions there that sometimes it's not working. Sometimes it's an issue where they just haven't clicked the box, and all they have to do is click where they want to type it out and then click the typing icon. And then from there, we also have some other requirements in order to have before starting the lab. So we recommend using the Microsoft Authenticator app that they can download via iOS and Android. Sometimes there's an option for the users as they're signing into the M365 tenant that they need to be prompted for MFA. That's a new feature that has recently popped up. So if they have the Microsoft Authenticator app already set up, then it'll just be a quick MFA. All they have to do is push the MFA option, and then they'll be able to access it. So that's something that is required before starting the lab, is having that specific app downloaded to bypass MFA. We also have instructions on how to use the guide. We recommend doing hands-on first, so try each task before actually walking through the detailed steps, so they understand a little bit on how it's done at first or what's needed to be done. And if they need that extra help, then they can just click the guidance to kind of walk through, or if they get stuck, they can go through the steps and see where they got stuck to kind of implement that security feature. And then from there, there's also a 1 hour total timing for this specific lab. If you are giving them breaks or if they take a break themselves, we recommend pausing the training. I know Ruben covered this on Tuesday as well, but it is important once the timer runs out, sometimes they lose all the work that they have just completed and they have to start over. So we recommend going to the hamburger menu here and then saving it, and it'll save the progress that they have completed without running the timer. And then moving into the environment setup, I just walked through the password, how to sign into the virtual machine. So in the resources tab, we have two passwords. We have the virtual machine, and then we have the actual administrator username and password. Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion. So we gave them an explanation here of which passwords to utilize for what part of this training. So as you can see here, VM is going to be on the bottom. And then for the tenant, they're going to use the Contoso Retail Administrator password. And then following that, we actually created this journey as a 2-day journey for them. So in the first day, we're covering the foundations like we covered earlier in today's training. So they'll be going through this specific train ride in a way to kind of build on the foundational security controls and then moving to the advanced controls. So starting with access control, data protection, AI auditing, and then it goes into the day 2 train ride journey into oversharing, data loss, and governing AI. For lab 1, we're just going to be focusing on the foundations, and it has a quick explanation of what they're going to be doing, why these stops are important. And again, all of this is discussed in the deck that we provide. So they'll be first discussing the journey within the deck, and then we go into actually implementing these steps in the lab itself. So we start with stop 1. You can see an explanation of what they're going to be doing on stop 1 for access control. We're going to be doing things like implementing MFA, conditional access policies, and having centralized access with Entra ID governing groups. We also have an explanation of why this is important and what it applies to. So does it apply just to M365 Copilot, or does it apply to agents? For stop 1, it applies to both. and then the tools that they're going to be utilizing for the specific stop. So they'll be utilizing tools like Entra ID, Copilot Studio, and Power Platform Admin, and then the licensing that it's a part of. So again, as mentioned before, we're only using business premium licensing, but we do discuss on E3 or E5 licensing what they could potentially do, like adding risk-based signals for more granular control. So we do have a brief mention, but again, we don't cover those E5 policies since the tenant does not have access to that. And then for task 1, each task is going to be set up in this format. So they'll have a scenario of what's going on in this fictitious company, Contoso. For this example, it looks like there's a payroll specialist that clicks a phishing link and enters her password. Because MFA wasn't enforced, the attacker signs in, can now see everything that she sees, and that's going to include information like sensitivity info, like HR files that Copilot could surface. So within minutes, privacy, salary data appears in the attacker's chat history. One miscontrol becomes a tenant-wide breach and amplifies by AI. So this is kind of an explanation. They're put into the place of this IT administrator or a SOC specialist, and they have to solve this issue that's coming in this fictitious company called Contoso that they work at. So we have an explanation of what is happening, why it's important to secure it, and then the steps that they have to do in order to secure their users or this company. So what are they going to do? They're going to create an initial conditional access policy requiring MFA. They're going to ensure all registered users have strong authentication methods with Microsoft Authenticator, push notifications, password adoption. They're going to validate this policy with the what if tool to make sure that it works and it's not going to block users from doing their work when they implement the security, because we want to have security in place but not prevent any issues or friction when it comes to implementing these policies. And then we're going to enforce the policy at the end once we confirm that everything is working correctly. So again, this is the format that we mentioned. We have the scenario, we have the steps that they have to complete. We recommend them trying to do it themselves if they're security experts so they know what to do. But if for some reason they get stuck or they're new to security, then we have these step-by-step instructions that they can expand, and it takes them step-by-step on how to implement the conditional access policy, how to implement MFA, how to validate and enforce this, and how to apply this policy in place. So each exercise or each stop, each task is going to have this format. Again, at the end, it's going to have the importance of why it's important to implement these policies in place. So for this specific scenario, Copilot and agents inherits the user access. If weak identity is compromised, then AI accelerates the blast radius, and MFA stops 99% of password-based attacks, making it the single most impactful control to protect AI-powered environments. So again, each task is going to be formatted in that way, as well as the stops. As you can see, some of the stops contain maybe three tasks, and then they'll be able to complete this. If for some reason the attendees go a little bit quicker, they have stop 3 that they can complete, but normally in the agenda and in the training for each stop, we give them 15 minutes to complete, ask questions, implement themselves. US trainers are able to assist them if they get stuck, but if there's someone that's a little bit quicker, then we have the optional stop 3 that they can complete themselves, or they can take that home once they've completed the rest of the training. And then at the end, we have the congratulations, they completed it. This gives them an explanation of what they did, what they accomplished today by implementing these security policies in place, why it's important, again, for each of these stops to be implemented for foundational steps, and it gives them a quick intro to day 2, the advanced security, and where we're going to be covering on day 2. Any questions so far on the labs?
I think there was one question, but that was more related to like before when you were talking about accessing. It's like giving the labs, to the distributors, right? And there they have their sales team, and how those sales team can benefit from these labs. So I think I can share my experience on this one. So we sometime, work with the distributors also globally. And I think it's a very good suggestion that we find it very useful, especially for if you go to the sales team, like in person there in their office. are virtual. So there, the sales training is very beneficial, right? So they can talk about the use cases, they can discuss their own challenges, and then I think you can help them a lot. So we found this very useful, the CSP training with the sellers, but that was more on the sales side. So for the technical side, I think it's more the technical team. But I agree with Sibrin with the suggestion what he has. Maybe we create more awareness among the distributors how they can leverage the CSP sales training to train their resellers. Yeah, agree on that. So it's more like a question and comment.
Yeah, good question and good feedback too. If there's any other additional feedback that you have where you think it'd be important to have specific training, maybe for different use cases, feel free to share that and we can take that back and do some planning for the future labs that we create. Because as we mentioned before, these labs are completely new. If you were doing trainings before, you'll notice that the previous labs look completely different from the FY26 one. So we make a lot of changes based on the feedback that we hear from partners and customers. So if there's any other feedback that you think would be important or any use cases that you want to share, feel free to share with us today. Again, we take that feedback to make the changes in our training. All right, if there's no other questions, I do want to show you Lab 2 as well. I already launched it, as mentioned before. It takes a minute or two to fully load. And as you're walking through this as well, you'll again have access to these labs for a few days. So if you want to complete and get a feel of the agent labs and ask questions, feel free to do so, as well as the security. Feel free to reach out to us at Level Up if you have any questions on the training. But you have access to this training for a few days to complete yourself. But I want to be able to walk through an overview to show you what it looks like for Lab 2. Very similar format to day 1. So we have the About This Lab guide, what they need to do, requirements, the timing. Again, each of these trainings have 1 hour in total to complete. So if they need to step away or pause, they're able to pause the training themselves, sending into the virtual machine as well. The resources button is going to contain all of those passwords. So similar format to the agents and the previous security lab. And then for the Lab 2, this is where we focus more on the advanced controls of the journey. So here we have the overview of what was covered on day 1 labs, the foundations, and kind of digging into the day 2 ones where we're going to be covering oversharing, data loss, governing AI. These are all going to be the stops that we're going to complete for advanced controls. And then each stop contains the same format as Lab 1. So we have what we're doing, how we're going to do it, and why this matters, what it applies to, Copilot and agents, the tools that we're going to be covering, and then the licensing as well, with the tasks, explaining the scenario, the what to do, again, encouraging them to try and do it themselves without looking at the instructions. And if they need support, they can go ahead and click that to kind of walk them through the steps, and then an explanation of the importance. And at the end, we have all of these different tasks, task 2 as well, that they have to complete. And then task 3 is going to be optional. So if they run a little bit faster than the other ones, they're able to complete this or have this as a take-home task. And then we have the last one that summarizes all of the things that they accomplished in the lab, why it's important, and then the end of the journey for day 1 and day 2 for securing the AI journey from foundational to advanced controls. And with that, I want to see if there's any additional questions before we wrap up for the day. I know we have all of these experts on the call, from sales to technical and agents. So if there's any questions either from day 1 training for Train the Trainer or today's Train the Trainer around security, feel free to post those. I know there's probably a lot of questions you are asking them others might have as well. So feel free to take time to add those into the chat now, and we'll be able to answer them. If for some reason we can't answer them, then we can just follow up after as well. So I'll give you a minute or two to ask those questions. Sahid, is there any questions?
No, I think there's no question. While the questions are coming, one thing we can emphasize, I think maybe you also said during the session, that if you go to the Copilot Studio or M365 admin interface, so things are changing on daily basis, because engineering is working and we're trying to improve it. And we strongly suggest that you do the lab, multiple times and at least once before you go, 1 day before. So you can understand what are the changes, because the instructions don't match sometime with the what is on the screen, because the things are changing. And then the people sometimes get panic who you are teaching. They say, oh, here it was written this, but I don't see it on the on the tenant side. So you can always tell them these are changes and here what changed. So if you do it yourself, you will memorize what was changed. It's easier to handle. Even like I have to do one session tomorrow and I am going through one of the labs, and like almost 20% has changed, so I cannot change the instruction that fast, but at least I know what is changing and I can explain that. So that's what we learned through experience. I think it's a good idea, to do 1 day before you go there. Do multiple times before too, but 1 day before you go there, it will tell you at least what is changing and what is not changing there on the interface side.
Yeah, good call out, Zahid. And like Zahid mentioned, we are trying to keep up with the changes, but sometimes it just takes time. It might come through that morning and we just haven't looked at it yet. But good call out, Zahid. Walk through the training before actually doing the training to make sure that any changes are done. Perfect. So as we close out here, our next steps. So first, you can download the new Level Up Sales and Technical Training material using the links here. As mentioned before, you'll have access to that training on October 1st. If for some reason you need access to the training beforehand, if you're doing any trainings earlier than October 1st, reach out to us and we can send you that training earlier. And then second, today's Train the Trainer deck is also available for download. So you'll have everything we walk through at your fingertips. And then finally, if you want to run these labs with your teams, please submit your lab request at least 2 weeks in advance using the links provided. And if you run into any issues, you can reach out to our support alias at levelupcspsupport@microsoft.com. Again, if there's any technical issues with the actual virtual class that you're doing, then we recommend reaching out to Skillable. But for any support questions, reach out to Level Up CSP if there's any issues within the content or requesting the lab. Any issues requesting the lab access, maybe you need it earlier, then reach out to us. And we're here to make sure that you have what you need to take this training forward. Again, want to thank everyone for joining us today's session and engaging with us as well. If there's any lingering questions, feel free to submit those still in the chat. We can still answer those. And we also hope that the content helps you feel more confident about guiding your customers through their AI and security journey. Please take a moment to scan the QR code or use the link below to complete our survey. Again, your feedback is essential for us to continue improving these trainings. And we truly appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you in future sessions. Thanks again.
Thank you for joining us today. Please note that resources shared during today's presentation will be delivered post-event, and you can access today's event recording at the same location you joined this live event. Your feedback is important, so please take a few minutes to complete the short survey that's up on the QR code on your screen or also pinned in the Q&A. I'd like to extend a thank you to our presenters. This concludes today's event. You may now disconnect.